Every scout has one. That feeling the night before summer camp. The duffel bag is packed, or at least mostly packed. The sleeping bag has been rolled up and tied a second time because it came loose the first time. The uniform shirt is hanging on the closet door. Somewhere in the house, someone asks one more time, "Did you pack your flashlight?" A parent reminds you to pack extra socks. Someone asks where the raincoat is. You look at the weather forecast one last time. You check your packing list even though you've already checked it twice. You're supposed to go to bed early, but that's easier said than done. Because tomorrow is camp. For some scouts, it will be their very first week away from home. For others, it's another chapter in a tradition that they've looked forward to all year. For staff members, tomorrow is the beginning of weeks of long days, hard work, laughter, and memories that will stay with them for a lifetime. For scoutmasters, assistant scoutmasters, committee members, and parents, tomorrow represents a culmination of months of planning and preparation. Tomorrow is opening day, but there's something I've come to appreciate over the years. Camp doesn't begin when the first troop drives up the road. Camp begins long before that. This past Tuesday, I had the opportunity to spend the day at Rotary Scout Reservation while staff was making their final preparations before campers arrived. As I walked around camp, I realized that while hundreds of scouts and leaders were preparing at home, another group of dedicated people was quietly preparing camp itself. Today, I'd like to take you behind the scenes during those final days before camp opens, and reflect on what it takes to prepare for another summer at Rotary Scout Reservation. Welcome to Meet Me at the Grizz, the podcast where we celebrate the people, traditions, and experiences that make Rotary Scout Reservation such a remarkable place. I'm your host, Ken Clough, and whether you're listening on your drive to camp, packing your gear at home, or maybe you're a former scout simply remembering your own summers at Rotary, I'm glad you're here. Today, we're talking about something that most people never get to see, the days before camp begins. Camp is waking up. When I arrived at Rotary Scout Reservation on Tuesday morning, camp felt different. Not empty, not quiet, not even unfinished. It felt like it was waking up. There was energy everywhere. Staff moved from one project to another. People carried supplies between buildings. Program areas were being organized. Equipment was being unpacked. Someone was weed whacking at a campsite. Another staff member was unloading boxes from a truck. Across camp, people were working with purpose. No one seemed rushed. Everyone simply knew what needed to be done. The closer opening day gets, the more every hour matters. As I walked through camp, I couldn't help but smile. Everywhere I looked, I saw another small detail being completed. A stack of merit badge materials waiting for scouts. Signs being hung, tables being arranged, flags ready to be raised. It reminded me that every experience a scout will have this week begins with someone preparing it first. The waterfront doesn't simply open. Someone checks every canoe. Someone inspects every paddle. Life jackets are counted and organized. Safety equipment is inspected. The shooting sports ranges don't magically become ready. Equipment must be inspected, procedures reviewed, safety checked again. Nature isn't enough. Preparation is. The same is true throughout camp. Every merit badge area, every campsite, every program, every building. Before a scout ever arrives, someone has spent hours making sure it's ready. Most campers will never notice those things, and honestly, that's probably the way it should be, because when preparation is done well, it becomes almost invisible. The focus shifts exactly where it belongs, to the scouts and experiences they're about to have. More than setting up camp. As I walked around Tuesday, I realized something else. The people I saw weren't simply setting things up. They were preparing opportunities. The rope hanging in the climbing area isn't just equipment. It's where someone might overcome a fear. The supplies waiting in the handicrafts area may introduce a scout to a lifelong hobby. The canoe waiting at the waterfront may become part of someone's favorite memory from camp. The benches around the campfire aren't just places to sit. They're where friendships begin. They are where songs become traditions. And they are where young people begin believing they can lead. Sometimes we think camp is about buildings, or equipment, or merit badges. And of course, those things matter. But they're really just the tools. The real purpose is helping young people grow. Everything happening this week is in service of that mission. Seeing familiar faces. One of my favorite parts of visiting camp this week wasn't seeing the buildings. It was seeing the people. As I walked around camp, I kept recognizing staff members I had met last summer. There were smiles, handshakes, a chance to catch up. It immediately reminded me of something that makes Rotary Scout Reservation so special. People come back. That's easy to overlook, but it's incredibly important. Returning staff members bring experience. They know the traditions. They know the expectations. They know how camp works. And more importantly, they know why camp works. I watched experienced staff helping newer staff members, not because they had to, because that's simply what happens. Knowledge gets passed along. Confidence gets built. Traditions continue. Leadership develops. It reminded me that one of the greatest leadership lessons scouting teaches isn't found in a handbook. It's learned by watching someone who has done it before. That's true for scouts. It's true for staff. And honestly, it's true throughout life. Learning the rhythm of camp. Staff Week isn't just about learning procedures. It's about learning the rhythm of camp. This week they were practicing songs, reviewing merit badge requirements, talking through emergency procedures, learning schedules, preparing opening campfires, reviewing ceremonies, getting program areas ready. Some of those activities may seem routine, but they're incredibly important. A scout may only spend 1 week at camp, but for that scout, everything is new. Everything matters, and the staff knows that. That's why they spend this week practicing before anyone arrives. Great camp experiences don't happen because people improvise. They happen because people prepare. One of the things I've always appreciated about Rotary Scout Reservation is that camp feels welcoming almost immediately. I don't think that's an accident. It's the result of staff members intentionally creating an environment where scouts feel accepted, encouraged, and excited from the moment they arrive. That doesn't happen automatically. It happens because people care enough to prepare. Preparing for people, not just programs. As I continued walking around camp, another thought occurred to me. The staff wasn't just preparing merit badge classes. They were preparing for people. Tomorrow, a first-year scout might arrive feeling nervous. A returning scout may be excited to reconnect with friends. A scoutmaster may be bringing a brand new troop to camp for the first time. Parents may be wondering how their child will do away from home. Every one of those people will arrive carrying different expectations, different hopes, and different concerns. The staff won't know all of their stories, but they'll still welcome every single one of them. That's one of the remarkable things about camp. It has the incredible ability to make people feel like they belong. Long before the first flag ceremony, long before the first merit badge class, Long before the first campfire, the people preparing camp this week are really preparing something much more important. They're preparing a place where memories can be made. And tomorrow, those memories begin. While camp prepares, so does everyone else. As much as I enjoyed spending time at camp this week, I couldn't help but think about everything that was happening away from Rotary Scout Reservation. While the staff was preparing camp, hundreds of scouts, leaders, and families were preparing at home, in living rooms and garages, in church parking lots, and in driveways. Camp was already beginning. Somewhere, a scout is sitting on the floor with a packing list, trying to decide whether they really need another sweatshirt. Another scout is making sure their pocket knife is packed. Someone is trying to remember where they put their mess kit after last year's camp. A parent is reminding their son or daughter not to forget their medication. Someone is making one last trip to the store for batteries, sunscreen, or insect repellent. Someone is discovering that the flashlight they packed last week no longer works. Someone else is trying to fit one more sleeping bag into an already full trailer. If you've ever been to camp before, you've probably lived through moments just like these. They're small moments, ordinary moments, but they're part of the tradition. Across our council tonight, there are hundreds of versions of that same story unfolding. Each one is a little different, but they're all leading to the same place: summer camp. For troop leaders, tonight is often one of the busiest nights of the summer. Medical forms are being reviewed one final time. Medication is organized. Permission forms are checked. Troop equipment is loaded. Patrol boxes are counted. Tents are packed. Trailers are hitched. Drivers are confirmed. Departure times are sent out one more time. There are text messages, emails, phone calls. Meet me at the church at 8 a.m. Don't forget your Class A uniform. Please remember to eat breakfast before you arrive. Or, the trailer is almost full. Some of those messages seem routine, but every one of them is another small step toward making camp successful. Most people never notice how much planning goes into a single week at camp. Maybe that's because the best planning is almost invisible. When everything goes well, nobody notices all the preparation. They simply enjoy camp. And that's exactly the point. Every scout begins with a different story. Tomorrow, not every scout will arrive with the same emotions. Some can't wait to get out of the car. Others may be quiet. Some will already know exactly where they're going. Others will look around and wonder what the week will be like. For a first-year scout, tomorrow may feel enormous. A whole week away from home. New people, new experiences, a campsite they've never seen before. Maybe their first merit badge class. Maybe their first campfire. Or maybe the first big night sleeping in a tent without their parents nearby. That's a big step. For older scouts, tomorrow is something different. They're coming back. Back to familiar trails. Back to favorite program areas. Back to staff members they remember. Back to friends they only see during the summer. And back to traditions that have become part of who they are. One of the beautiful things about camp is that it welcomes both groups equally. The first-year scout discovering everything for the first time, and the veteran scout who already knows every path through camp. By the end of the week, they'll both have new stories to tell. I'm getting ready too. As I thought about everyone else's preparations this week, I realized something. I'm getting ready for camp too. Tomorrow morning, I'll be driving up to Rotary Scout Reservation to help with Sunday check-in. I really enjoy that part of opening day. There's something special about watching troop after troop arrive. Cars drive up the main road, trailers back into campsites, parents help unload gear, Scoutmasters begin organizing their units. Within a few hours, a place that felt quiet just days earlier is suddenly full of life. I'll also be teaching photography merit badge again this summer. So this week I've been preparing my own materials. I've been reviewing my lesson plans, cleaning lenses, gathering equipment, thinking about how to make photography meaningful for scouts who may have never picked up a camera before. One of the reasons I enjoy teaching photography merit badge is that photography teaches observation. A camera encourages us to slow down, to notice light, to notice impressions, to notice relationships, to notice moments that most people walk right past. And in many ways, that's what scouting teaches too. Pay attention. Notice the world around you. Help other people. Leave places better than you found them. Those lessons stay with us long after camp ends. I'm also looking forward to seeing many familiar faces again. One of the joys of returning to summer camp is reconnecting with the people you've come to know over the years. Staff members, scoutmasters, commissioners, volunteers, former scouts who are now serving on staff. That's one of the wonderful things about Rotary Scout Reservation. It feels less like returning to a place and more like returning to a community. So if you're listening to this before you arrive at camp, I hope you'll stop by and say hello. I'd love to meet you. None of this happens by accident. As I drove home from camp on Tuesday afternoon, one thought stayed with me. None of this happens by accident. The campsites don't prepare themselves. The waterfront doesn't inspect itself. The climbing equipment doesn't test itself. The dining hall doesn't stock itself. The trails don't maintain themselves. The merit badge materials don't organize themselves. Someone does those things. And actually, many people do. Behind every week of camp is an entire community. Staff members who give up part of their summer because they believe in scouting. Volunteers who spend countless hours serving on committees. Parents who support their children and volunteer their own time. Scoutmasters who use vacation days to spend a week sleeping in tents. Rangers who maintain camp throughout the year. Council employees working behind the scenes. Donors whose generosity makes improvements possible. Alumni who continue giving back long after they've aged out of the program. Every one of them adds something to camp. Every one of them helps keep this place alive. One of the central ideas I wrote about in my book, The Next Campfire, is that great camps don't simply survive because they've always been there. They survive because each generation decides they're worth preserving. Someone before us invested their time so we could experience camp today. Now, it's our turn. Our responsibility isn't simply to enjoy camp. It's to sustain it, to make sure that today's first-year scout has the opportunity to bring their own children, or perhaps even grandchildren, to the same place. That's how traditions survive. That's how leadership is passed from one generation to the next. And that's how camp continues. Tomorrow morning, roads from every direction will begin leading to Rotary Scout Reservation. Cars, pickup trucks, vans, trailers. Some families will be making the drive for the very first time. Others could probably make it without a GPS. Some scouts will spend the drive talking nonstop. Others will quietly look out the window, wondering what the week will bring. But eventually, they'll all reach the same place. They'll all drive up the camp road. They'll all begin another chapter in their scouting journey. And by tomorrow evening, flags will have been raised. Campsites will be organized. Friends will reunite. Songs will already be echoing across camp. And another summer at Rotary Scout Reservation will be officially underway. A few thank yous. Before we wrap up today, I'd simply like to say thank you. Thank you to every parent who helped pack the duffel bag. Thank you to every troop leader who spent hours organizing transportation, equipment, and paperwork. Thank you to every volunteer who worked behind the scenes throughout the year. Thank you to every ranger, council employee, commissioner, committee member, donor, and supporter whose work often goes unseen. Thank you to every member of the summer camp staff who has spent this week preparing to welcome hundreds of scouts. Most campers will never know everything you did to make this week possible, but they will remember the experiences you helped create, and those memories stay with them for the rest of their lives. That's a remarkable gift. Tomorrow, I'll be at the Grizz, helping welcome troops during check-in, and beginning another summer, helping with Photography Merit Badge. If you see me during the week, please stop by and introduce yourself. I'd love to hear your scouting story and learn what camp means to you. Until next time, thank you for listening to Meet Me at the Grizz. Have a safe journey to camp. Have a wonderful week at Rotary Scout Reservation. And of course, tomorrow, I'll meet you at the Grizz.